Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for logging in to this webinar and welcome, teachers. Okay, today I'm going to talk about something, a very important element in what we are about to enter as we go to another school year. But before that, I'd like to share with you a story that I overheard in one of my essential errands. Okay, I think I'd like to set that as a context for what will be discussed today. Um, in one of my essential errands to an establishment or a store, I overheard a parent who works in that establishment tell another coworker that um, hindi daw niya i-enroll yung mga anak niya sa school ngayong pasukan. So I wondered why, and the reason that she gave was that hindi ko kasi kaya yung ipapagawa ng school sa akin. Hindi ko mababantayan yung mga anak ko. Nagtatrabaho ko eh. Sinong magtuturo sa kanila? So, hindi ko na lang muna sila i-enroll. I don't think that's an isolated case. Most of you may have heard already that story being told by many, many parents. And that's something that we would like to address. And hopefully we can address that in this session now. Is home-based learning really a partnership between the school and the home? Or does it provide some conflicts? Or is it a collision? So that's what we're going to talk about. We want to look at some strategies in order to support learning at home. So the crucial question for us is, for us teachers, how do we help? How do we help parents support their children's learning at home? We've heard a lot of webinars targeted, or the audience are parents, telling them how they will support their children while they're at home or they're conducting home-based learning. But right now, what we want to do is to talk about the role of the teacher in the middle of all this. Okay, so what will happen? The home will be the venue for learning. Okay, what does that look like? You'll see children working on their own in various places in their house. Okay, because this is a very comfortable place. It's their territory, so you might find them everywhere. They might be working alongside a sibling or another family member, doing some schoolwork, and there might be an adult, especially for children in the early grades. An adult's presence is very crucial. Okay, they're still working towards being independent learners. And the facilitation and scaffolding provided by an adult is very important. So these are just some images that might be the scene, the scenario in most homes this coming school year. So what does this mean for us teachers? If for parents, it means that they're going to have that responsibility of teaching their children. For teachers, it means we are relinquishing some level of control over instructional delivery and hand them over to parents. It doesn't mean, however, that we're not going to have anything to do with it anymore. I think this morning, for those of you who logged in during the webinar this morning, there is a difference between home-based learning and homeschooling. What we will be talking about now is home-based learning. By home-based learning, the teachers are still planning the learning experience of the learners. The teacher still has a lot to do with how the children will learn. So it's not solely the responsibility of the parents, but a lot of the delivery of that learning experience will have to be on the parents. Okay, but so what this means for teachers is that we need to give the home, the caregiver, the support that they need. We have to equip the families to support this learning at home. And we're not just talking about, gadgets, learning packets, because no matter how comprehensive our learning packets are, no matter how strong the Wi-Fi is at home, and no matter how complete the gadgets, the resources are at home, if the parents or the families are not supported enough and they're not with the equipped enough, it's not going to work. Home-based learning will not work. This is especially true, as I mentioned before, in the early grades, when children's learning requires regular scaffolding and adult facilitation. Okay, this is not to say that our focus now will be on the parents. We focus only on the parents because we want to remain learner focused. What we do to help and support the home will help our learners. Okay, so what happens on screen when we are doing synchronous sessions with our learners and with the parents beside them is important. But what happens off screen when they are already with their families, with their parents or whoever is the caregiver at home is equally, if not more important. Okay? But let's go first, before we talk about home-based learning, let's understand the context of the parent or the home or the caregiver. Just like everyone, the parent is affected by this pandemic. They're balancing so many things. First, they're balancing work. They're affected. Their livelihood is affected. They need to work. Some are maybe frontliners. They're essential workers. They need to go to work on a regular basis. They need to leave the house. When they go back, they worry that they might be bringing in the virus. So that's something that they need to balance with taking care of their children. Some of them, a lot of us actually, are still working from home. Okay, so we spend so many hours in front of our computers doing Zoom sessions or doing work because we have a deliverable at the end of the day. Some are struggling to keep their livelihood, to keep their businesses open. Some are struggling because they don't have work. They lost their only source of livelihood. Some are also struggling to find new work. So these are different contexts. You might find one kind of parent in your class of learners, and they're balancing this with providing for their family's needs, not just physical needs, but social needs, emotional needs as well. But parents also need to take care of themselves. They have to care for themselves the same way that they're caring for all their children. So all these are being balanced. So ito yung nagiging konteksto ng mga magulang natin. Marami silang iniisip, katulad natin, marami silang binabalanse sa kanilang buhay. But all of a sudden, they are thrown into a new role. Okay? They become substitute teachers for this coming school year. It's been said that parents are a child's first teachers, but I'm sure they never imagined it to be like this. Okay? Medyo romantic yung ganun eh. I am my child's first teacher. Pero siguro hindi ganito yung kanilang mga naiisip. Parents are daunted by the expectations, the roles they will play in their children's academic life. Some of them are not tech savvy if the school is asking them to go online for their children. Some of them, not all parents have an education background. Hindi sila teachers katulad natin, nag-aral para talaga magturo. Yung maraming mga magulang, hindi naman talaga nag-aral para maging guro. So, anong gagawin ko? Paano ko to? Sanay lang naman ako mag-follow up, pero ngayon kailangan ko na talaga siyang bantayan. So they will struggle with this concept of home-based learning. Okay, so I guess that's where the parent in my story was coming from. That struggle na hindi ko kaya hindi ko na lang siya i-enroll. So, paano ba natin ito matutulungan? Okay, let's talk about, we're now looking at the partnership between the home and the school. During this time, that is more magnified than ever. Anong klaseng partnership ba meron tayo? Because that is something that we can deploy at this time na meron tayong relationship with the parents. Okay, we We want to help the parents succeed so that their children will also succeed during this school year. So let's revisit that concept of homeschool partnership. It's not a new concept. It's something it's a term that's in our mission, in the vision mission of our schools. It's something that we mention during parent orientation, that there is a partnership between the home and school. And research evidence shows that parent involvement has a lot to do with academic outcomes, with the academic outcomes of their children. The question now is, what is the extent of partnership that exists between the home and the school at this time? Because the kind of partnership will tell us what kind of support we can give to parents, or how receptive they will be to the kind of decisions that the school has made. What is the extent? Are the parents, is the home included in the decision making of the teacher as far as curriculum and instruction is concerned? Um, will they be asked to plan together with the teachers? How are they being asked to support their children's academic success? Ano ba ang sinasabi natin sa ating mga magulang? Kailangan upuan, kailangan 3 oras kasama mo, kailangan i-test mo, ganun ba yung hinihingi natin sa kanila? And when we think about those things, when we plan our home-based learning activities for our learners, sometimes we can't help but think about the things that the home lacks. Okay, wala silang space sa bahay, busy ang mga magulang, wala silang oras. And there are also times that we think that, paano ba yun? Hindi nga marunong magsulat o magbasa yung magulang ng aking mga estudyante. Paano pa niya matutulungan yung anak niya? So we sometimes focus on those deficits, on what they lack. Medyo isipin kaya natin muna ngayon kung ano ba yung dinadala nila. What are the parents? What is the home bringing to the table when it comes to learning? Okay, first of all, the parents are the experts on their children. Okay, whereas teachers change every year, the parents are always there. Because they are always there, they accumulate a wealth of knowledge about their children as learners, about their children as individuals. And that has a lot of potential for individualized and personalized learning. Diba gustong-gusto natin magawa sana yon? In the home, that potential is there. How about teachers? Tayo. Teachers are the experts on instruction. That's what we were trained for. We were trained to deliver instruction. We know what children need for them to progress in their academic life. However, when they are in the classroom has its limitations. The setting of a classroom makes it a bit difficult for us to individualize or personalize instruction, because maybe there are so many of them. There's just so much work to be done, so much teaching to be accomplished, that sometimes we forget, or we don't have enough space to individualize our instruction. But we know how to plan it. We know what children need. So we have those complementary skill set and roles, the expertise of the parents and the expertise of the teachers. They complement each other. They don't actually clash. Okay? And this is now, and we have a common purpose. Our purpose as parents and teachers is to help our children succeed in their learning, to help them learn, to help them be successful. And this alone, this common purpose and this complementary roles and skill sets is a basis for a very, very powerful and sustainable partnership that is founded on collaboration. Okay, we have revisited homeschool partnership. Bisitahin naman natin ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng learning. Let's revisit that concept of learning. I think we need to, as teachers, our fear is that learning will not happen in the home. We need to change our mindset, and realize, accept that learning comes in many forms. And learning can happen anytime. Kahit saan natin ilagay ang bata, meron siyang matututunan. Learning happens anywhere. Learning happens everywhere. And the implication of that, because learning is now home-based, the home becomes the locus of many, many teaching opportunities. Maraming pwedeng mangyari sa bahay at maraming pwedeng matutunan ang bata. Learning can happen independently, and it can also happen with support. So learning doesn't just happen when children are taught in school, or it doesn't just happen because there's a teacher there. Okay? It can happen in the home. It can happen within the community. So that's something that we need to, I think, remind ourselves. Okay? So the teaching potential within the home and the family is something that we need to tap, especially now that most of the learning will have to be within the home. So let's put that together, homeschool partnership and learning. What does that now mean for us? So there are three things that we need to realize. For a partnership to be established, there needs to be a relationship between the parent and the teacher. What kind of relationship do we establish with our families, with the families of our learners, with our parents? Is it a need-based relationship? Pagkakailangan natin ng gamit sa classroom, we tap our parents, baka pwedeng may mag-donate. Ganun ba ang klase ng relationship natin? Pag merong mga events sa eskwelahan, kasi kulang tayo ng mga gagawa, they're extra hands. Okay, what kind of relationship? Or is it a relationship wherein the parents are free to consult teacher about their children, and the teacher is also free to ask the parents about the learner, especially when it comes to things that affect their life in school. This relationship is now the foundation for a very strong collaboration, a relationship that is founded in each other's respect for context, respect for expertise. If we have this relationship, we can now have a goal setting. We can now set goals together for our learners. Ano ba yung gusto natin? Sabi natin kanina, common naman yung purpose natin. Gusto natin magsaksida mga bata. Wala naman sigurong magulang at saka guro na gustong bumagsak o hindi matuto ang kanilang mga anak at kanilang mga estudyante. So we set our goals that are realistic, based on what is happening in their lives right now, or what is happening within our communities right now. And when we set goals, maybe we can plan together. Hindi po natin sinasabi na isa-isa po nating upuan ang ating mga magulang para mag-lesson planning. Ang sinasabi po natin, isama natin yung kanilang konteksto sa pagpaplano natin. When we plan together, this now becomes a collaborative partnership. A more authentic partnership that takes into consideration what our learners need. Okay, so it's a partnership that is anchored on collaboration. What it is not is parents duplicating what the teacher does in the classroom. Yung pong homeschool partnership at saka learning at this time during the pandemic, hindi po natin sinasabi sa ating mga magulang sana na gayahin mo kung ano yung ginagawa ko sa classroom, na maging teacher ka din sa bahay mo. Hindi po nila yon gagawin. Yan po ay nakakatakot para sa mga magulang kasi nga hindi naman ako nag-aral para maging teacher. So if we ask them to do that, that's one of the things that hinders parents from really getting wholeheartedly into this home-based setup. We also don't want to tell them, set up your house like a classroom. Maglagay ka ng malaking blackboard, bumili ka ng mga chalk or ng whiteboard, at gayahin mo, kailangan meron kang mukhang classroom sa bahay mo. Tapos para kang teacher, nakatayo sa harap at tuturuan mo yung anak mo. That doesn't come naturally in a home. Parents are parents. It's not that easy to just switch off being a parent and then turn on being a teacher. Okay? So hindi po 'yon ang ating hinihingi sana sa ating mga magulang. Partnership is also not asking parents to stop their own lives just so they can be teacher. Yes, parents should also set aside time for this because this is now our situation. Our learners will be at home, so they need to spend some time. But we are also not judging parents who cannot spend that much time in delivering instruction because we all, as I said, we all have to balance a lot of things. So what is it that they can do? What is it that what areas can we support parents and families? Kung hindi nila yan magagawa, paano ba natin talaga sila matutulungan? In what areas do we ask parents to help? One of the things that I have learned for parents to be cooperative or responsive to our approaches is to make things a bit easier for them. Hindi yung wala silang gagawin, pero sana hindi siya yung sobrang mahirap. That's the only way we can have the parents to buy in, na kaya nila. That's one way we can help them to be successful. So what areas can we support parents and families? We want first to get to know their context. We want to know what their situation is. And this is not limited to how strong their connectivity is at home or how strong their Wi-Fi is. We want to know their family routine. What is their home life? What are family activities that they regularly do inside their home? Because these routines and activities can be teaching opportunities. Paano ba magiging teaching opportunities yon? Okay, sa pag-uusap natin sa mga magulang, Mami, Daddy, or Lolo, Lola, ano po ba yung madalas ninyong gawin? Baka kapag ginagawa ninyo ito, pwedeng ito yung tingnan ninyo or patulungin nyo sila para lumabas naman kung ano yung natutunan at mas ma-practice nila yung natutunan nila. What are some of these routines? Naririnig ko po, in some homes, they can ask children to do the laundry with them. When they're doing that, there are so many skills that are being built just by separating the coloreds from the whites, sorting the clothes, sorting whose clothes these are. Marami po yan. Looking at patterns of the clothes. These are very important math skills. When they're cooking, measuring ingredients, reading off a recipe, and even their social-emotional skills of lending help to someone who needs it, fine motor skills of handling food or utensils. This is already something that they can practice while doing these activities. Many of our families during the pandemic have gone into urban gardening. Marami pong nagtatanim. Baka po pwedeng isama yung kung alam po natin na ang mga pamilya ng ating estudyante ay nagtatanim. Pwede nating sabihan yung ating mga magulang na, baka pwede nyo silang isama dyan. Kasi pag sinama nyo sila dyan, tapos pinapanood nila, baka pwede nilang i-record kung araw-araw ano na yung nagiging itsura, gaano kalaki yung inilalaki, ano yung nangyayari, sa ano ba yung mga kailangan kapag para mabuhay. So there's a lot of science skills, math skills, and literacy skills that can be incorporated in that routine. And you're not adding on to what the families can do. You're incorporating the teaching in what they normally do on a regular basis. What else? What other areas can we tap so that children will learn within the normal routine of a family? One of the things that's very important for children to learn is the quality of talk that the adults in the home has with the children. Iba kasi yung usapan kapag kayo-kayo lang nasa bahay. But for teachers, maybe that is one thing where we can support parents. Baka ganito na yung pwedeng maging kalidad ng pag-uusap natin sa mga bata. Medyo meron na tayong direction na ibibigay. We talk about all the experiences, kung ano man yung nararanasan nila, kung ano yung nararamdaman nila. It's something that they can talk about with children. And the type of questions that parents can ask children. These are questions, maybe we can encourage parents to ask questions where their children can elaborate more on what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and not just questions that are answerable by yes or no, or questions that have wrong or right answers. Something that will allow their children to share their thoughts and their ideas and their opinions. In other words, the kind of talk that is respectful, as if you're talking with a fellow adult. Kakausapin natin yung mga bata. The point of the talk is to have meaningful conversations with children. Meaningful, deep, and long, regular conversations with children. The kind of talk that does not sound like an interrogation. Alam naman po natin, di ba, kung ano ang tunog ng interrogation na parang may kasalanan siya palagi. Or, it doesn't sound like you're testing your child, that you're actually looking for the right answer. It doesn't give the child enough freedom or opportunity to think, to put together thoughts, and to express them in a way that they consider safe enough to be shared. So meaningful conversations, that's something that we can ask the parents to do. We can guide the parents to do with their children. So medyo mag-iiba ng konti. Ito, kung ano yung klase ng pag-uusap meron sila sa mga anak nila, baka medyo ile-level up ng konti para magkaroon ng deliberate or intentional na expression of ideas and putting together, synthesizing ideas that they have gained from different learning areas. One of the things that parents often ask me when I was still teaching young children, they would often ask, "Teacher, how will I help my child? Paano ko ba siya tutulungan sa bahay para mag-aral siya, para mas matuto siya?" And I always tell them, if there's only one thing that you can do for your child in order to help them develop thinking, it's telling them stories. Yun lang. Araw-araw, walang mintes. Kung gusto mo, magkwentuhan kayo. Stories can come in the form of storybooks. Read aloud. To read to your child. Let your child read to you on a regular basis. And if that is one way that you would want to support parents, unang-una, baka pwedeng kasama sa learning packets natin yung mga kwento, mga kopya ng mga kwento na pwede nilang pag-usapan. Stories that will allow them to discuss extensively what they have learned or what they have, their insights on the story. Hindi lang yung pang-practice reading. Kasi meron tayong mga libro na words lang yun nando para ma-practice lang sila magbasa, no? Pero sana ito yung mga kwento na pwede nilang mapagkwentuhan din pagkatapos nila basahin. The concern now, I've heard one concern. Sasabihin, paano yun? Hindi nga marunong magbasa masyado yung parents ng aking mga estudyante. They're illiterate. Hindi sila nagbabasa ng English. Hindi sila nagsasalita ng English. Stories are not only read, they are orally told. Yung oral tradition natin ng pagkukwento ay nandun pa rin. Paano yung deliberately they will spend time with their children and tell them stories, even if it's orally told. What will children gain out of that? They will have a sense of a story. Stories have beginning, they have a middle, they have an end. And these stories pertain to real people. They will learn about plot. They will learn about themes. They will learn problems and how they are solved. So telling stories is a very rich source of learning that parents and children can do together. Tapos bonding pa siya, di ba? So maganda siyang gawin. So if we can encourage parents to do that by giving them material, giving them some material, whether soft copy lang siya or hard copy, pwede naman. At pwede rin naman nating sabihin na pwede namang makipagkwentuhan o sabihan niyo lang siya ng kwento kahit hindi siya babasahin. Okay. Another area, magsusulat. Pwede nilang isulat, pwede silang sumulat tungkol sa mga naranasan nila sa bahay. And it's important that for us to remind parents that writing can come in many forms. It doesn't have to be perfect writing with perfect spelling, perfect grammar. Writing, especially for young children, it can begin with scribbles. It can begin with drawings. It can begin with just a few letters na hindi natin masyadong mabasa. But when you ask the child, meron pala siyang gustong sabihin doon sa mga sinusulat niya. Dinodrawing na pala niya ang kanyang pamilya at may expression of love in that letter. Maybe it's a note for somebody at home. Where for older children, maybe grade 2, grade 3, those who are practicing how to write, ito po kasi practice eh. Tinuturo ni teacher ang tamang pagbabaybay, ang correct grammar, pero dapat ipinapractice ang pagsusulat. And real writing, authentic writing is something that's meaningful to the child. And what is meaningful? Something that is connected to his or her own experience. So pwede siyang maglista. Ano ba yung mga gagawin ko ngayong araw? Tapos isusulat niya. Kasi ang mga bata, bawal po silang lumabas, di ba? Hindi sila makasama ngayon sa grocery o sa palengke. Pero baka may gusto silang ipapili kung sino man ang mamimili sa kanilang pamilya. So pwede niyang ilista. The child can make a list of what she needs, what she wants to eat, and make a grocery list of her own. Kung meron pong magse-celebrate ng birthday sa bahay, pwede siyang i-encourage gumawa ng birthday card. Whoever is at home, the home partner, the parent, or the grandparent can sit with the child and then help the child craft a card. Ano ba ang itsura ng isang card? Paano ba spell ang happy? Pwedeng itunog natin yon. Ano ba ang pagkaalala mo sa sinabi ni teacher? So yung mga ganon. Ang importante po sa writing ay make it authentic, make it something that's relatable to the child. Because if it's something like homework, na kasi sabi ni teacher, sumulat ka ng ganyan, the child will only do it for compliance. And anything that's done only for compliance is usually forgotten really quick. But if it's something that's done because it's something that needs to be done or something that's important to the child, then it's something that stays or sticks with our child. Kasi alam niya na meron siyang ginawa at merong impact yung ginawa niya para sa ibang tao. Okay, is there something else that sometimes we forget because we're so focused on academic learning, on reading and writing and math? Minsan, nawawalan tuloy ng oras sa mga bata maglaro. Play is still very important. So as teachers, we also want to encourage parents to in turn encourage their children to continue playing. The kind of play that will allow them to imagine, allow them to explore and experiment. Para doon sa may mga bakuran or may mga garden, yung bakuran nila pwedeng hayaang maglaro yung mga bata doon. And then it will help them solve their own problems while they are playing. Inside the home, kung wala naman pong outdoors, play can still happen. Play na hindi po sa gadgets, bigyan po natin sila ng mga pwede nilang i-manipulate na mga gamit, kung ano man yung nasa bahay. And this is now the basis for playful learning. Play can have so many, can incorporate so many competencies already, whether it's in literacy, in math, or science. This is something that children naturally do, and they are learning while they are doing it without them noticing that they are already learning. We can also have some art activities for them. Art activities can be encouraged with the parents. Pwede nating isama rin, siguro sa learning packet natin, some art materials kung kaya. Kung meron naman po sa bahay, kahit mga lumang papel, o lapis, pwede silang mag-drawing. An art activity is a creative endeavor. It gives the children that space. It allows them to create. It allows them, again, to translate their emotions and their thoughts on paper, just like writing. And during this time, it can also be therapeutic. Minsan hindi natin alam na ito na pala ang nararamdaman ng mga bata sa loob ng bahay. Napakahirap po para sa kanila yung nakakulong ng napakatagal na. We have breached the 100-day quarantine already. So that means that our children have been cooped up at home for more than 100 days. And that's difficult for them. Maybe in the beginning, it was a delight that, they don't have school, na parang suspended lang yung classes. But I'm sure maybe right now we're hearing children saying that they miss their classmates, they miss going to school. And that can be very stressful for children. So art activities can be therapeutic. And this is something that parents can process. We can help parents on how to process these art activities. So these are just some activities that they can do for at home, no? But what ties up all these strategies and all these activities, the storytelling, the writing, the incorporating them in their regular home routine, it consolidates and integrates learning. We don't need to ask parents to teach separate subjects all the time. Na, Mami, kailangan ngayon mag-aral kayo ng math. Kailangan ngayon mag-aral kayo ng... Kaya marami pong magulang, medyo natatakot kasi ang dami. What if you have 7 or 8 subjects? And then all of that you need to teach. When we help parents with the kind of activities that I just mentioned, those activities consolidate and integrate a lot of competencies that we are also targeting for our learners. So it's telling our home partners, okay lang po yan, Mami, na ganito ang gawin natin. It's okay that your child helps you in these different areas because we can still see learning happen when your child does that. And when they do that, we also allow some productive struggle. So this is also an area where we can talk to our parents. Ano po ba yung productive struggle? Children are bound to face some challenges as they are doing work, as they are finishing a task. And we can tell parents that, errors are okay. Errors, mistakes are also learning opportunities. Please don't do their work for them. But some parents can't help but do that because they're also afraid to be judged. If they turn in work that's full of errors, baka ma-judge ako ng school or ng teacher. So sometimes, they would resort to that. So if we tell them it's okay because that is part of their learning, that kind of struggle is productive because we are facilitating problem solving in the process. So until they find the solution by exploring many areas that touch on different areas of different domains of our curriculum, then they are learning already. It's also, I think, good for us to help our parents with giving quality feedback to their children. What kind of feedback can encourage children to learn? Okay, overcorrection is something that many parents do kasi nga natatakot sila na baka palaging mali, diba? So they overcorrect. Hindi pa natatapos yung ginagawa ng bata ay kino-correct na kaagad. So that's something that we can remind parents also that it's okay. You can talk about the importance, the value of the work by not focusing on the errors or the mistakes. Okay, overcorrection. We also want them to give constructive criticism and not to criticize their children, but maybe to to comment on the work that was done. Okay? So, hindi lang po yung puro negative. Sa positive din. Anong klaseng feedback ba yung makakatulong sa ating mga learners na pwedeng ibigay ng magulang? Because remember, the teacher is not there anymore. If it's the parent who's delivering instruction, yung feedback na makukuha ng bata kaagad-agad ay manggagaling doon sa home partner. So minsan, ang sasabihin ng pag okay naman yung trabaho ng bata, sasabihin very good. Puro na lang very good. Pero yun po ay very limited. Hindi po yun masyadong makakatulong. Pwede silang mag-comment ng diretso doon sa output ng bata. Kunyari, isang art activity siya, pwedeng sabihin na, ang dami pong palang kulay na ginamit. Gumamit ka ng maraming pula dito, ng maraming color blue dito. Ano pa kayang kulay ang pwede? Bakit ganong mga kulay ang ginamit mo? So talk about the work. As I said, the quality of talk will have to change. And that's something where we can support and guide the parents, because that's a very important aspect of learning. The quality of the feedback has to lead to improvement. The quality of feedback must not be something that discourages children. Okay, so this consolidation of learning is something I think that would give parents some breathing room na hindi naman pala kailangan na isa-isahin ko bawat subject na ituro. Kasi in this one activity, marami na pala akong subject areas na nasusuportahan ko yung anak ko. So that's something that would be quite a relief, I think, for parents to know. And that's something that we need to explicitly express to the home and the families. Minsan kasi hindi lang magulang yung kasama ng bata. It's the whole family. It's a whole system. Hindi po vacuum yung mangyayaring learning because it's home-based. Everyone in the home will surely be affected, and everyone in the home will surely be involved in the child's learning. So what we're saying is that it doesn't have to be very difficult for parents. How do we make it easy? How do we make it doable? How do we make it realistic? Sometimes we think that whatever is happening in school, kasi home-based learning na siya, ita-transfer lang natin siya sa bahay. Ita-transfer lang natin siya online, sa screen, pero kailangan may nagbabantay sa bahay na katabi ng bata. And that takes a lot out of parents, no? And it might be difficult to get the cooperation of the parents if they find it too difficult or unrealistic for their own context. So what do we need to remember when we're for home-based learning? Stay learner-focused. Although we are now interacting directly with parents more than we have ever interacted with them during a regular school year, we still need to stay learner-focused. We're doing this, we're partnering, we're collaborating with the home, with the families, because what we do to support families supports our learners. Be a collaborator. Okay? Hindi lang ikaw lahat ito. Hindi lang tayong teacher ang nagpaplano ng lahat. We need to collaborate with the parents. We need to take into account what they are going through, what their context is, in the same way that we are taking into account what is realistic for us and for our school. We can be a resource for the parent. Whatever it is that they need, if they need materials, we can direct them to where they can get it. Or if we know what they need and we have it, maybe we can include it in whatever learning materials or learning packet that we are supplying them. We need to connect parents to other resources. May baka may mga online na library or in their community, if it's already possible to go to a library, as long as they observe all the health protocols, maybe we can direct them there and all the other services and supports that they need. The important thing is for us to listen and to communicate with the parents, and that is a very, very essential part of collaboration. Be a partner. Ano pa ang ibig sabihin ng partner? We know that parents are also going through a lot. during this pandemic. We also want to encourage them to promote a life balance within the family for both the parents and the student. Okay? We don't want to bombard them with so much work that they don't take care of themselves anymore, or they don't take care of other aspects of their lives. They need to take care of themselves. They need to socialize also, even if it's just virtual, and take care of their emotional needs. Be encouraging. Families are doing their best. They're doing their best in these unprecedented circumstances. Lahat po tayo ay we're trying to do whatever it is that we can given these times. These are unprecedented times. Hindi pa po tayo siguro makaramihan po sa atin talaga hindi pa nakaranas ng ganito. But we are coping. We are trying to cope. And the only thing we can do is be encouraging to each other, knowing that this is the reality that we are facing now. If there's one thing, if there's a so-called silver lining for schools behind what is happening now, maybe it's that we now have the opportunity to reset the relationship, to rethink, revisit, and reset our relationship, the relationship between the home and the school, so that it's not just some form of rhetoric. It's not just something written in our vision mission. It's not just something that we say during orientation, but it's something now that's authentic, because that partnership is magnified now more than ever. So we leave this reflection question. I think this is something that we need to think about as early as now. What will home and school partnership look like after this pandemic? Will it be like it was before COVID-19 came along? Will it be stronger? Will it be more collaborative? Will it be more authentic? The answer may very well be forged by how we choose to work now with our families. Yun lang po, maraming salamat at mabuhay po ang lahat ng mga guro at pamilyang Pilipino. If we have any questions, let me address them now. How do you deal with parents who bypass you and complain to save their children? And how do you deal also with overacting superiors? It's very hard to deal with the people. No? Hindi naman po talaga madali yung kikilalanin natin. Alamin lang po natin talaga kung saan sila nanggagaling. Iba po ang, sabi po natin, iba po ang konteksto ng mga magulang natin ngayon. Ang parents natin ay marami ring pinagdadaanan. Marami po tayong pressure. Ang superiors natin meron ding mga pinagdadaanan. I think a relationship based on respecting each other's context is something that we need to consider. There is no one answer to this question po, no? Kasi depende po yan sa kausap natin. Depende po sa kung ano yung pagkakakilala natin doon sa tao. Ang importante po ay unawain din natin kung saan ang gagaling. Wala naman po sigurong hindi na pag-uusapan ng maayos. Ang parents po, hindi naman po siguro nila intensyon na i-bypass or as I said, common naman po ang ating purpose. We all want our children to succeed academically or in life. It's just that sometimes we resort to some defense mechanisms because we feel that we are being judged, or we feel that we don't want to make or expose our mistakes. And I think being open and being more understanding of our circumstances might be able to quell that. Paano daw po kung senior citizens na po ang ating ang home partner natin? What is the best intervention in order to do the modular task given by the teachers. If they're senior citizens, whether they're the parents or the grandparents, they still have that wealth of experience with the child, with your learner, and they know the child. Maybe the issue is they may not be as tech savvy as we want them to be because everything will be online. As I said, pag kinilala po natin sila, meron po tayo, kailangan po hindi na tayo one size fits all. Kung meron pong hindi marunong ng computer, kung yun po yung issue, then we might want to have some sessions with them to familiarize them with the technology that we need. Kung talaga pong hindi, then the hard copies, offline modules will have to work. Make it more explicit. Nandun po, may guidance po talaga doon kung ano yung expectations natin sa kanila. At least how many subjects can we teach our learners? Depende po yan sa school, no? Pero sa atin pong panahon ngayon, I think maybe we can choose the core subjects. Ano po ba yung gusto natin? Maybe that it can be, yan po ay pag-uusapan ng buong eskwela at maaring isama rin yung magulang sa pag-uusap. Ano rin ba yung importante para sa kanila? Literacy, numeracy, pwede bang ilimit lang natin doon? O pwede bang idagdagan natin ng something more creative like music and art? So, maaaring hindi naman lahat ng subject. As I said, even our national curriculum has pared down the competencies to the most essential. We can still, I think, pare that down depending on the context of our communities and the families of our children. Okay, meron pong isang tanong. Maganda po yung tanong ni Ma'am. How do we deal with parents whose mindsets are they see teachers as irrelevant people since they're the ones who teach their children? Interesting po yung tanong kasi parang ngayon ko lang po rin narinig, no? Aminin ko sa inyo. Kasi usually po, in my dealings with, ang nangyayari nga po ay usually nga yung kabaliktaran. Yung magulang, medyo sila yung nasiset aside as the teachers of the original teachers of their students. The partnership, yung pong pinakita ko kanina, na yung expertise ng bawat isa ay pinapakita natin, I think wala pong maituturing na irrelevant if we just take into account the expertise that we're bringing to the table. We recognize that yes, parents are the experts on their children, but teachers are experts on instruction. They know the trajectory of competencies that the children will need to go through. Kasi siguro, dahil pinag-aralan natin yon, di ba? So yun po, pag nakita naman po natin kung ano ang maitutulong nun para sa ating mga magulang, kung uupuan natin yon at magkakaroon tayo ng joint planning and joint goal setting, I don't think, baka po yung pag-iisip na irrelevant yung isa ay mawala. Maaaring hindi po yan mangyari overnight. It will take a lot of relationship building, as I said. The relationship has to be established first. A relationship that is anchored on respect. Pag nandun na po yun, yung pong mga kasunod nun, siguro mas madali na. Any tips as to how we teachers can empower parents to encourage student learning at home? The things that I mentioned a while ago, I think the parents feel they are not empowered because sometimes they feel that they're being asked to do something that they're not trained for, or something that they're not used to doing, or something that they didn't, really study for. Nagulat. Lahat naman nagulat sa nangyayari ngayon. So, paano natin ma-empower? Kasi pakiramdam nila na wala akong alam dyan. So, automatic, nawala yung sense of authority nila over their children kasi hindi na lang ako magulang, kailangan kong magturo, pero hindi ko naman alam kung paano gagawin yon. The supports that I mentioned a while ago would be a really, really a great help to parents, and to tell them that you don't have to radically change anything in your home. Whatever you're doing now, pagtulungan natin, i-transform lang natin siya into a learning opportunity. Pwede ka pa rin magluto ng paborito mo. Pwede ka pa rin mag-gardening. Pero isama mo na yung bata. Tapos pag-usapan ninyo. Kasi ganito yung matututunan niya kapag ganito yung magiging usapan ninyo. So I think that might be very empowering for parents. How can we assess the output of learners wherein most of the time it was done by parents? Okay, yung pong mga evidence of learning, yun po yung titingnan natin. The things that pwede po nating sabihin sa mga magulang, pwede po bang kolektahin natin lahat ng kanilang mga ginawa? Yung sinuggest po natin kanina ng mga writing activities or art activities, o yung mga recording nila ng mga tinanim nilang halaman, o i-document nila, mag-video or mag-picture, yun po ay mga evidences of learning. Kung ang hinihingi po natin ay, gusto po natin ay magpa-test ang mga magulang o yung bahay para sa kanilang mga anak, pwede rin naman po yun. Pero sana hindi lang yun yung magiging source ng information natin, ng assessment ng mga bata. Because as I said, they are now in a good position to learn in an authentic way because they are at home, wherein activities can consolidate all these things that they have learned. So yung pong mga evidence na yon would be a source of assessment, can be basis for assessment. Tapos pag-uusapan po ng mga magulang paano po ginawa, ano ba yung naging contribution niya dito. If it's that, parents might be honest enough and be more open about sharing what their children did at home, and para hindi siya, kasi mas nakakatakot po yung may sinasubmit ka na wrong answer, na may wrong or right answer. But if it's the process that the parent is showing and then there is an output as evidence, then maybe that can be a good basis for assessment. How can parents who have low literacy levels support their children's learning at home? Okay, by literacy, we are really talking about not just reading and writing. We're talking about listening. We're also talking about oral language, speaking. Okay, so all these are components, very important components of literacy. If the parents are not readers, they are what is termed now as non-readers. As I said, during storytelling, they can tell oral stories that have, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Those have value. Those activities, those interactions with children, they allow children to formulate ideas and thoughts in their minds. Those stories have value. They don't need to be read. Okay? The explicit instruction, maybe, yun na po yung pupunuan ni teacher, yung explicit instruction sa pagsusulat, sa pagbabasa, pero it doesn't mean that the parents cannot have a contribution to that. Pwede yung pag-usapan. It's the talk now that will strengthen the learning at home that will come from the parent. As I said, let's not focus on deficits. Let's look at what the parent can bring in. It's enough that parents feel inadequate already. The way to empower them is to tell them na ito po yung matutulong ninyo kasi dito kayo magaling. Ito yung magagawa ninyo para sa inyong anak. So, doesn't really matter, especially if, for example, natuloy po yung mga radio-based instruction, yung sa television-based instruction, then the parents can sit there, makikinig, and then process with the children. Okay? And even if parents are really also need instruction in reading and writing, then they could sit with their child, and that would be added motivation if they're learning together. So, subukan natin yon kasi maaaring makatulong din. Pero hindi ibig sabihin, ang message lang po ay hindi ibig sabihin, wala na silang magagawa. Okay, so I think those are all the questions. I hope I was able to answer them. And for the coming school year, teachers, isa lang po, happy teaching, and I hope everything goes well with everyone. Marami pong salamat.